It's time. We need to talk about one of the most anticipated Australian-made 2D platformers of 2025, Windswept. This throwback to the Donkey Kong Country series features pristine movement, a surprising level of depth and difficulty, and some of the most adorable protagonists I've ever seen. Just look at them vibe, man. Well, let's not get too hyped yet. As of writing this, the game hasn't actually come out yet. But I'm the mad lad, so something silly like a release date isn't going to stop me from doing a challenge, obviously. So that's why today we'll be riding through the game's demo, that's the first world, while trying not to jump a single time. We'll simply define a jump as any time we have to use this action in the control settings. Any other action, like confirming, does not count as a jump. Even though this game is a 2D platformer, this really shouldn't be that hard of a challenge, considering how many different movement options the game offers. So let's jump right into it. Oh, of course. In order to start a new file, we literally have to jump into a save slot. You know, I have to admit it's a nice touch, but it's not what we're looking for today. Like, we're actually royally screwed right now. But in order to explain why, let me first explain how this game works. You've got your two characters, Marbles the duck and Checkers the turtle. You know, considering this game was made in Australia, I honestly expected worse. Anyway, they have some similarities, so both of them are able to run, jump and attack stuff, but for the most part, they have unique movement options. The duck can glide if you hold jump in midair, but we won't be doing that for obvious reasons. The turtle's ability, on the other hand, is much more useful for this challenge. By pressing one of the triggers, you can ground pound, and if you then press attack, you shoot forward with great speed. Still though, the best movement options in this game are the ones where you can team up. By pressing the piggyback button, one character leaps onto the other's back. This is not jumping. We can then press attack to fling the other character. This works especially well in combination with the turtle's ground pound attack, but I'll talk more about that in a bit. If we instead swap our characters and do the same thing, the duck throws the turtle and they somehow both perform a shell jump. Yeah, don't ask me how the turtle bounces off himself, I really don't know. Anyway, this leads to some awesome movement opportunities, but unfortunately for us, all of those involve jumping, so we can't actually make use of them. That's all well and good, but right now I'm only playing as the duck. There's no way for me to make it up right now. I can yap about the team movement all I want, but if we can't clear this simple hurdle, it's all for nothing. Unless... Yeah, unfortunately we do have to jump here. Not just that, but the first level starts us off with a series of platforms that the duck just cannot get over, no matter what we do. That makes 1, 2, 3, 4 more jumps before we finally team up with the turtle. So, as you can probably tell, we absolutely need both characters if we want to have any chance of getting a low jump count. These 5 L button presses were unfortunate, but maybe with the power of the duo, we can at least prevent the counter from going any higher. And yeah, the rest of the level really isn't all that hard. We can just keep using our fling tech to get across most of the gaps, really. However, our second level, Hoppet Heights, turns the difficulty up to 11. This level is entirely vertical and features a ton of difficult jumps and places where we can get hit. If you recall from the previous level, if we're ever so low, we're basically screwed. This stage is also really long with only one checkpoint partway through. But enough rambling, let's scale this waterfall. We're definitely not taking the rope up, because for some reason, the only way to get off a rope, besides falling off the bottom end, is by jumping. You can't even let go and fall off. Like, how stupid is that? Listen to the amount of sound effects. Well, luckily though, this particular rope is just a suggestion, because we can do this instead. This is the full-fledged version of our fling tech from earlier. Throw the turtle, ground pound, leap forward, then jump back on the turtle and get up. Now, considering the order of events, you might think we'd be able to repeat this loop indefinitely. Unfortunately, our Australian friend thought about that and made it so that you barely get any height after the first time. Lame. But still, this combo is incredibly versatile. On the one hand, it lets us go up really high while also offering room to wiggle around enemies and obstacles. On the other hand, we can use it to traverse a great horizontal distance, which will come in handy in the later stages. With that skill now under our belt, we can scale the first half of the stage without too many issues. And I spoke too soon. Like, what is this nonsense, man? Like, we already established that you can only get off a rope by either jumping off it or falling off the bottom, but this one has no bottom? Like, does that mean I'm just stuck here now? Well, yes, but actually no. I am stuck in the sense that I need to restart the stage now, but I'm not stuck in the sense that we can instead skip the rope and head up here. That effort nets us our sweet checkpoint. And right after is perhaps the biggest middle finger this game could ever give. 4 horizontal ropes that we must jump up to reach the next section. Like, I checked and there's no other way to get up. This other rope doesn't lead anywhere, and besides, it's still a rope. There's no platforms anywhere nearby to help us. I mean, we could cut our losses here and jump 4 times, but no, of course not. That's so wasteful. Clearly, there must be a better option. And indeed, there is. By positioning our ground pound dash just under the second rope, we can kill the enemy and then fling up. Note that we don't actually latch onto the rope here. Now we're at the third rope, where sadly we have no other option than to jump twice. Be sure to also not get hit by the bee here, otherwise you'll have to jump once more to get your body back. 2 jumps is not ideal, but I'll live with it. And besides, maybe we'll find some knowledge later that will help us shave off those extra jumps. Oh, also, one thing that became really apparent in this level is that not getting hit in this game is hard. Like, annoyingly hard. So, in an unexpected twist for this channel, I've decided to make things easier for myself by allowing this modifier in the settings. This will allow me to respawn the other character with the press of a button. Don't worry, this will be the only one I use, and I'm just using it so that I don't have to waste time finding bubbles. Importantly, I also won't allow myself to perform anything that would not be possible in a full run. Like here, if I fail this part, I have to go back down, then respawn my character there, and try again. I know it feels kinda lame, like normally in these videos I always try to persevere and never give up! But trust me when I say that this modifier will make things a lot less tedious while still being difficult and fun. Speaking of difficulty, we're almost at the end of the stage now, but we've still got this rubbish to contend with. You've seen 4 horizontal ropes, now get ready for 2 vertical ropes with enemies on them. Yay! I'll just cut to the chase this time. Kill this enemy, go up the rightmost rope, then jump off to the right and maneuver onto this platform. Unfortunately, that does add another one to the counter, but we used this jump to its fullest potential, so I'm not too miffed about it. And besides, here's the end of the level. Let's get out of this place before the frogs get us. Our next level, Bridge Wheel Waterway, starts off with a bucket. I feared that you maybe can't fling the other character while you're in this, but luckily you still can, at least a little bit. But that's all we'll need to beat this first part. By the way, speedrunners can skip this bucket entirely, but I'm not good enough at the game yet to do that. Maybe in a couple months, we'll see. Next up, we have a large gap with a body of water. Water in this game might as well just be a bottomless pit, because as with ropes, the only way to get out of a pond like this is to press jump. Instead, let's simply use the fling tech to cross this gap horizontally. That body of water wasn't too much of a threat, but up next we have this monstrosity. This is mildly inconvenient. It's not nearly as bad as it seems though, because we can simply go over. Man, I love Australian game developers. And what do you know, that's already the end of the level. That was a nice palate cleanser after the previous one, I must say. Our next main stage is Hugh's Shade. And, well, this one gives Hoppet Heights a run for its money. The core mechanic here is supposed to be this chameleon called Hugh, but their only moves are licking, turning into a painting, and jumping. Not ideal, so it looks like we'll have to beat the entire level without them. Everything before the checkpoint just requires good movement, but nothing out of the ordinary. And then we reach another set of ropes.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I tried bypassing them, but our current fling tech simply does not reach. At least we can perform this one jump well to skip past the second rope. However, apparently there's something even worse than ropes.
You're kidding. The only way to exit this is to jump. Ah! Why did it have to be like this, man? Couldn't you have made it any other button? Okay, well, we're gonna have to skip this part then. Oh, that's not even that bad.
And if those two obstacles weren't enough, literally right after, we're greeted to some more horizontal ropes. Man, now I really feel like Australia is conspiring against me. I ended up finding two possible routes for this. The first rope can be entirely skipped with good movement, but once we're here, we have no other option than to jump a few times. Right here, we're so close to the barrel, but with the way the enemies are positioned, I just couldn't quite bridge this gap without an extra jump. And then of course we need to press the L button once more because of this stupid barrel. So yeah, that's 4 jumps alone for this one section. Thankfully, I found a slightly better route not long after, so that reduces our jump count by 1. It's something at least. And what do you know, we're still not done with the hard stuff, because now we've got even more barrels that we somehow need to bypass. Fortunately, this third one works automatically, so we only have to worry about skipping the first 2. Our standard fling tech barely does not reach. However, there's another part to this fling tech that I haven't used yet. You barely get any height after the first time. Lame. Well, guess what? This tiny boost is in fact not lame in the slightest, because we can use it to bridge this gap. At least in theory. I actually wasn't able to execute it in practice. After a couple of minutes of attempts, I still hadn't gotten it. And honestly, you and I are probably getting tired of this stage anyway, so I decided to leave it be, for now. That means we'll have to jump once here, bringing our total for this stage alone to 5 L button presses. Not great. We're definitely gonna have to come back to this later to shave that number down. So far, the difficulty curve of these stages has looked very spiky, a bit like this. So surely that means our next stage, Brambles in the Breeze, will not pose much of a threat compared to Hugh's Shade, right? Oh wait, I'm getting a call. It's from the Department of Foreshadowing. That can't be good. Hello? Hi, it's Kina from the Department of Foreshadowing. How can I help you? Is this stage going to be even more difficult than Hugh's Shade?
Let's drop the pretense and just say that you are correct.
Ah, frick. The reason why this stage is so hard is fairly obvious when you look at the footage. It's basically a more complicated version of the dinosaur game from Google Chrome. You know, the one where you jump over the obstacles. Hey, smartass, have you ever considered walking around the cacti instead of into them?
In order to win, we have to keep up with this bucket of doom at all times.
And before you ask, no, we can't skip using the bucket altogether because some of these gaps are way too large to cross. This took me a lot of trial and error, but eventually I figured out a strategy.
What the... How? How did I do that?
I think my reaction says enough. I am never replicating that. Well, a couple of days later I tried it again and actually got fairly consistent at it. Also, I fell through the stage at some point. Don't ask me how that happened. Anyway, after some more grinding with the setup, I got to this part. However, what's next shows just how enormously cooked we are. We've got 3 tall vines to jump over in quick succession with practically no room for error. To make a long story short, I came up with a way too complicated but theoretically possible setup that looks something like this. Kill this enemy to make space, go back, then enter the bucket and barely fling yourself over the first 2 vines. Now, here's where the theory broke down, but I'm fairly certain I could have still made it over this third vine if I had just been a little faster. Not that it matters though, because as I said, this setup is needlessly complicated. Like, honestly, you should be screaming at your screen right now, telling me how much of an idiot I am. Because you know how I said that I first killed the enemy to make space, and then went back? Yeah, well, dashing into enemies replenishes your fling. It's actually embarrassing like how long it took me to figure this out, even though I was literally making use of it without realizing it.
Wait a sec, what if you could just skip the whole thing with like this speed? So what if I can skip this whole convoluted setup by just killing this enemy, going like this? Oh my god. You could skip that whole thing by just doing that. Oh well, cool. Yep, that works. That works a lot better. Is a lot easier. And probably also just looks a lot cooler. That does raise an interesting point. Maybe we can employ this mechanic in the earlier stages too, to shave some jumps off our total. We'll tackle that question in just a bit, but for now, let's do the second half of the stage. Yup, everything we did so far was just the first half. Fortunately for us though, the developer forgot to remove his Australian gravity simulator here, which allows us to skip an entire section. Now we're almost at the end already. This last part can be solved by chaining together several dashes into enemies, which I must say is super satisfying. Yes, let's go! Why did I go on this? This is the only thing in the game that forces you to jump. Why did I go on this? After getting assaulted by a frog and having to try again, we're officially free from the bucket of doom. And somehow it didn't require any jumping whatsoever. So that makes it officially better than this stupid dinosaur game. Like seriously, how stupid can you be? This is the reason they went extinct, man. Anyway, now's a good time to revisit some of the older stages with our newfound knowledge. Let's start with Hoppet Heights. So, if you recall, we had two sources of jumps in this stage. The 4 horizontal ropes of the horizontal ropocalypse, horizontal ropocalypse, and these 2 vertical ropes at the end. Sadly for us, all of the enemies in the vertical section are positioned, well, on the ropes. I tried ramming into them without grabbing onto the ropes afterward, with the hope that we might be able to chain these together. But the rope hitbox just seems to pull you in before you can do anything. Unfortunate. The horizontal rope section seems more promising though. If we take into account what I mentioned earlier, namely that you don't latch onto a horizontal rope if you're in a fling, we can construct this really convoluted and precise path to get up. So we need to pay attention to a lot of things here. Our vertical position needs to be exact enough to hit this B but not latch onto the rope. And we need to time our cycles properly so that this guy is in the perfect position. Sounds really hard, but after only a couple minutes of attempts, this happened. That would have been it. Okay, well this is still 1 jump. That's already 1 jump saved, but clearly we can do better. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy though. Oh! Oh! You're kidding! I got hit at the very last moment. Why? I hate my life. I hate my life. Jesus Christ. Let's go. Let's go. Yes. Hi, it's Mad Lad from before the future and after the present. So just now we saved 2 L button presses in that stage, but literally yesterday, as of, recording this, I discovered that we can do even better, because we can in fact skip this stage entirely. While watching a speedrun, I saw that there's a secret exit in the very first stage that you can only reach if you're fast enough. It's not that hard to get if you allow jumping,
but without it, it's actually pretty tight, and I only barely managed to get it. With that though, we can skip straight to Bridgewheel Waterway, which skips Hoppet Heights and saves the last jump we would have needed there. Yippee! Anyway, let's go back to present Mad Lab now. These jump saves are all well and good, but Hugh's Shade still has a whopping 5 jumps, so let's see if we can improve this level too. If you recall, there were 3 sections right after one another that we couldn't do jumpless. For this first part, it's actually possible to bypass the ropes entirely because there's a frog here that we can brutally murder. How convenient! Well, now that I think of it, I really should report these fellas to PETA with all the animals they've killed. Obviously, where there are vertical ropes, there are horizontal ones too, waiting to beat us up. My initial plan was to again do a crazy series of enemy kills while dodging the ropes, but there's a problem here. All of the enemies on the second rope always turn to face you, which means we actually can't kill them. So the best we can do is to kill this first guy, and then to use our second fling to get as far as possible on the second rope. And we only have to jump once here. I tried skipping the barrel as well by ramming into this bee, but for some reason this moron has decided to face us when they're at their peak and face away from us when they're at their lowest. It may be possible to get them from behind when they're at their peak, and in that case you might be able to make it up here, but I couldn't really get it to work. If it did work though, it would probably look something like this. And finally...
Like that's the jump save, guys. That was a jump save.
Not all jump saves have to be complicated, you know? With that, we've gone from a lousy 8 jumps to a respectable 2 in the span of like 5 minutes? That's impressive. Well, let's not celebrate quite yet, because we still have to defeat the boss of this world. Enter Octulent's Onslaught. This is a fairly basic fight, all things considered. This friendly top hat wearing tentacle thing was robbed of its top hat. So now it's become an angry cannonball shooting tentacle thing. That was definitely in tune. There's nothing to worry about though, because we can fling ourselves and hit it right in the noggin. Oh wait, that's water. If you remember from earlier, water is basically a bottomless pit in this challenge. So to put it simply, the moment we even remotely miss our bucket, we're cooked. And to make things worse, when we jump on the angry cannonball shooting tentacle thing, we don't regain the ability to ground pound or fling ourselves, so we need to be right next to the bucket when this happens.
Hi, it's MadLad from the actual future this time. Regarding the not being able to fling yourself thing, while recording some supplementary footage for the edit, I realized I completely forgot to check if that was actually true. So it turns out you actually do regain the ability to fling after hitting the boss, so in that sense, it's just like any other enemy. Sorry for the misinformation.
So here's the general strategy I came up with for this fight. The angry cannonball shooting tentacle thing starts off as purple and shoots 3 cannonballs. It's best to jump over these when you're relatively close to them. Too close and it becomes impossible, too far away and you won't have time to hit him afterward.
Yeah, given what I said earlier, you can just stay far away from the boss while still being able to hit it super easily. Why did I make this so hard for myself?
After that, the octopus becomes kinda mad, and honestly, I would get mad too if a pair of animals just stomped on my head. In these red phases, you just need to dodge the cannonballs in any way you like. Suddenly, the octopus is not mad anymore. I guess it got memory issues from being hit in the head or something? And then it starts shooting sinusoidal cannonballs. Man, I wish I could do that. These are actually easier to dodge because if you position yourself right, they literally go over your head. After that, we just repeat the same cycle but with faster cannonballs. Now that I think of it, that octopus is kind of like that patient named HM. It doesn't remember ever being mad, but somehow it gets mad faster each time. Anyway, neuropsychology aside, once we hit it for the 3rd time, its top hat magically reappears, because video game logic I guess, and it can now go back to being a friendly top hat wearing tentacle thing with amnesia. Aren't we such upstanding citizens? And our reward for all that effort is a hidden collectible up here. All we have to do is... Oh, for With that, we've beaten the demo in only 2 jumps. I guess 7 if you're starting from a new save file, but that doesn't sound nearly as impressive now, does it? This challenge was a lot of fun to round, mainly because this game's movement is just so satisfying. So, what's next? Well, I could just try making a longer jumpless challenge for the full game, but I've actually got a better idea in mind. That's going to take a while to make though, so if you want a glimpse of that early, consider following me on Twitch. When the game comes out on the 11th of November, which has probably already happened by the time this video releases, I'll first start with a casual playthrough of this game, and then after that we're getting straight into some challenges. Just in general, I stream every Saturday at these times, and I also have all of the VODs available on my second channel, Unscripted Lab 2.5. And one more thing. I know I haven't uploaded a lot this year, and I'm really sorry about that, but I hope to compensate with a special announcement. Celeste Grabless Part 3 is coming out in...
The audio for this section of the video contained copyrighted material and has been removed. We at Mad Lad 255 Incorporated apologize for the inconvenience. We wish you a nice rest of your day, and kindly ask you to keep being Mad Lads.
Yeah, I actually have no idea when the video is coming out, so yeah, sorry.